Hey, good evening, guys. I hope you're having a good night. And it is still raining here, but I'm so glad that we are not getting hit like those of you in Houston. I hope you guys are doing okay. I know things have been super, super rough down there, and we are definitely sending our prayers. So, bless you guys. So, whining, whining, the bastard little cousin of complaining. And complaining is one of those big victim clues. Doesn't mean you're a victim, but it means you're playing the part of the victim. And, like I'm sitting in my car right now, just could be saying, my internet sucks. The internet keeps going in and out when it rains. You know what? That's been going on for 11 years. I live out in the boonies. I love living out in the country. And having really shitty internet service is just part of it. So when I got to do this, I drive down here. So if I've got to talk to a phone client on the cell phone, I know I got to come down here. I got to drive down closer to town. That's the way it is. But whining about it does not make things better. Complaining does not make things better. And who's on? Who's on here with me? Oh, well, so, if you're in a situation now, saying that whining doesn't help, that doesn't mean that you need to stay in a bad situation. Absolutely not. But whining or complaining, that doesn't help. What does help is doing something about it. If you're in a situation that's not fair, whining about it not being fair, that's not going to convince the person who's not being fair to you to change what they're doing. It's absolutely not. That's when it's time to take responsibility for your own feelings and make some changes. And, I had somebody get in touch with me earlier today and say that she's in a situation, she doesn't quite know what to do. She met this guy who was in an open marriage and has been seeing him for a while, and she really likes the guy, but there's some problems, and and really she's got to the point where she wants him all to herself. And and I was like, okay, how about you say this? And she said, well, I said that. Hey, Lisa, thanks for being here. So, she was saying, I want him all to myself. And he keeps saying he's going to get divorced, but, the wife, like at first, was okay with him seeing somebody else. Now the wife's not sure. He keeps saying he's leaving, but he's not really taking action to leave. And I said, how about laying down the law and just saying, hey, this is it. I want you all to myself. This is awesome. And, setting some boundaries around that. And also setting boundaries, a big thing came up where he's acting really jealous, even though he's still married. But, that happens often as not with open relationships with people that are married. And hey, Jessica. And so, she's in this situation. She's not happy with what's going on. She needs to set boundaries. I said, how about you say this, which was, pretty much just outlining what she wanted. And she said, well, I said that. And I was like, okay. Did you enforce the boundary by putting in consequences if he doesn't go along with it? Like, are you willing to walk away if he's not willing to do what you need him to do? And she said, no. And I was like, okay, well, that's it. So here's the big lesson. It's like boundaries not only have to be set, they have to be enforced. And they have to be enforced consistently. Otherwise, you may as well not ever set the boundary in the first place. If you're not happy with what's going on, you're not going to be happy with what's going on unless something changes. And if all you do if all you do is complain, that's not going to change anything. It's like complaining is going to get the other person to do just enough to shut you up some of the time. And if that, they may actually, just grow accustomed to you complaining and quit listening altogether. Think of little kids. It's I had a funny thing. This was about 3 months ago. I was in the grocery store with my kids, and this kid was probably 5, maybe 6. He was definitely old enough to not be doing what he was doing. This kid was whining about getting something off the shelf, and he was just like, and I'm not going to do it because it'll grate on your nerves. It grated on my nerves in the store. And my daughter, who was 9, said, we went down the aisle, went around the end of the aisle, and my daughter said, "Daddy, doesn't he know that whining's not how you get what you want?" And I about fell down laughing. And I was like, apparently he doesn't. Apparently whining works in his house. And we had a friend when the kids were little, the 4-year-old best friend of one of my kids. The mom was like, she's whining all the time and I don't know what to do. And I was like, put her in timeout. And she said, put her in timeout for whining? I was like, yeah, whining is not how you get what you want. And so with kids, there's consequences. You follow the rules or there are consequences. It's the same for grown-ups. Now, that doesn't mean that one person in a relationship is an authority over the other. But what it does mean is you get to decide what you're going to live with. You get to decide what you want in your life. You get to decide whether or not what's going on is livable for you, is workable for you, is in your highest good. You get to decide whether or not you are getting to be the biggest, best you in the situation that you're in. And if you're not, then you need to have a conversation about it. And if you're not being listened to in that conversation, then that's going to drastically change the next conversation. So, more people drop out of therapy when it comes time to learn how to set boundaries than at any other time. The more people, when it comes time to, and here's why. Well, part of it is, most of the time is women that need to learn to set boundaries in relationships. That's just a cultural thing. And even though it shouldn't be that way, it is that way. But in order to set boundaries, you have to step into your own power to a degree. And, women are not taught how to step into their power. They're not taught to honor their own voice. They're not taught how to hear their own voice. They're taught what to think and how to think it, and they're shamed for thinking anything else. And it shouldn't be that way. Absolutely not. So learning to set boundaries is one of the most important things that I teach. And setting boundaries doesn't, actually in my book, Pillars of Awesome Relationships, in the chapter on boundaries, we talk about that. We talk about how we're taught, especially women are taught that setting boundaries is being mean. If you say no, you're being mean. If you say that doesn't feel good, it's being mean. And the truth is that, oh, hey, Cassie, thanks for jumping on. The truth is, boundaries are necessary, and boundaries aren't mean. Boundaries are what makes it possible to have a deeper emotional connection. Boundaries are what makes emotional intimacy possible. Because if I'm not happy, then I'm either not going to share what's really going on, or I'm going to back away. And in either one of those situations, there's no real emotional intimacy. It may be peaceful looking on the surface because there's no arguing and no fighting, but that's not what intimacy is. That's not what closeness is. Closeness, the definition of intimacy actually sharing the innermost portion of a thing. And for humans, like the way that that definition translates into human relationships is sharing what we're feeling. And our most vulnerable feelings are what we're feeling right in this moment right now. Yeah, if we've got a bunch of old stuff buried inside, we're going to have to share that too, and that's going to be incredibly scary and vulnerable to share. But the real amazing aspects of intimacy happen when we start to share what's going on right now. So that's it for tonight, and hope you guys are having a fantastic time. Love you. Bless you. Have a great night.